So, first off, I'm using a new stand, and it's pretty cool. I have a remote, and it works for my phone to record on a little tripod thing. And so I decided to do it so I could sit down more comfortably and use a new device out and see how this stuff works. Kind of cool. I can move it around, all that fun stuff. So anyway, my thing is, what I want to talk about a little bit is why I compete and what it does for me mentally. It's been an emotional few weeks. Just competing from Miami to Houston has been incredibly insane. But you know what? I loved every second of it. Okay, not every second of it. That's a lie. But you know, to be able to do this and why I compete is just it goes into a lot of different aspects. I think I mentioned earlier in a few episodes or whatever ago, whatever you would call it. I just explained how when I was working at Comcast, when I basically was in the sport of jiu-jitsu and MMA, I was a blue belt at the time. I didn't get to compete. I mean, the job ruined my just, you had to work every Saturday. Regardless what schedule you had to work every Saturday. Tournaments are Saturdays. So I had to use my vacation days and sick days when I wanted to fight or compete. So I chose those days for MMA. In 2007, 2008, 8-ish, I was able to compete a lot because I was in the Marine Corps, but I had 7 months left. I landed a nice, easy job just because I deployed twice. They had nowhere else to throw me. So I basically taught how to drive vehicles in combat situations for a bunch of up-and-comers, Marines. So that's cool, though. But anyway, that's off topic. We'll get on that in the other days. But, you know, so every Saturday I was free, and at white belt I was able to compete a lot. And I would do as many as I could, but at the time there wasn't that many competitions. 2000, like I said, 6 and 7, there wasn't a ton of competitions. So when I have the time, I started about 3 years ago. When I got my black belt, I decided to just compete. That was the timing where I landed a job where I was able to teach jiu-jitsu, and that was my only job. UFC gym in Lombard at the time, they let me compete. I had to get my classes covered. That was my first time I had a job without, having a set 100% thousand schedule, because it wasn't a huge corporation. It was ran by people that I knew, and it was one of those things where, just get your classes covered. Like I said, that's how it should be. But when you're working at jobs like Comcast or, big time corporations, you don't have that luxury. So, I started jiu-jitsu at a later age as well. If I started at 4 years old, by the time I was 18, I could have had my own school or whatnot. You never know, but this is the path that I chose. So when I was young, I would play baseball. That was my sport. I was a good pitcher. I was always the smallest guy on the team, but I would always make the all-star team. I'd make the traveling all-star team. I was really good. I was really good at baseball. And then high school, I was too small. They didn't give me a chance, and I just remember I feel like I had one of the best arms, pitchers. I had a nasty curveball. Very tough to hit, and I could hit too. They didn't give me a chance. You had I think it was a 1 or 2 day tryout. They just watched a few things, but I remember pitching. All my pitches were right down the plate. My curveballs were nasty because I was actually getting a private trainer at the time, and he was like, "Man, you're freaking good." Anyway, so that stopped my competitiveness. That hurt. That sucked. So sophomore year, I didn't do shit. So the rest, I didn't play baseball. So I would just play sports with my friends, but that was it. And I was competitive, but it wasn't a fire built inside me or anything. So let's bring it forward to 2003 to 2007. I was a Marine, and that's gonna be with me forever. Obviously, once a Marine, always a Marine. To compete and put my body on the line and my heart on the line and just all my training means a lot to me. It does a lot for me mentally. It gives me something to work hard for. Maintaining that and owning a business has become tough. It's tough to do because you don't want to leave your students for a long time. But this is something that I need to do because I want to do it, if that makes sense. This is something I need mentally. This is something that makes me eat good. This is kind of like, I'm kind of unwinding from the weekend still since my flight landed earlier after being delayed just by the weather. To see against some of these guys I'm going against, and just I'm right there, I'm getting the past few silvers I'm not happy with. I mean, I remember winning a match at IBJJF, I would have been jumping around in my mind at purple belt, brown belt. I never was able to prepare for those, and like I said, I had to use like a vacation day for it, but I didn't take it as serious, and I wasn't training a lot of jiu-jitsu other than MMA jiu-jitsu. I wasn't doing sports jiu-jitsu, which, there's a huge difference in my eyes. You mix them good, and that's a hard thing, is finding both aspects. That's why I'm glad I was a fighter. But it's hard to explain what competing does for me, and being so damn close to these guys that probably trained a long time before me or even later than me, but to see where I'm at and to see how far I've come is amazing. After these past few weeks, I came up really, really short with seconds left. It just, I've racked up a lot of medals this year. I had a good year. My Masters World sucked, but all these competitions put a toll on your body and your mind. And now my new injury, I got a little slight tear in my calf to my LCL in that area. So, and that mentally to me makes me panic, because to think that I cannot train hard puts me in like a whirlwind, like it's stress, because I know if I'm having a stressful day, or I'm having some PTSD trigger moments or something, and I need to get on the mats and train, then I need to get on the mats and train. So it's very difficult for me to know I cannot train 100%. But at the same time, I know my body needs rest, if that makes sense. I know it needs rest right now. But this injury, I know it's gonna lag. I know these. It could have been much worse. It could have been a torn ACL, MCL, LCL, like bad. This is just whatever. It hurts. I know it's gonna keep me off the mats for a little bit, rolling hard, and that doesn't mean I can't drill technique in probably a week. I don't know. I always go back fast, but my chiropractor works on the Korean Zombie, actually, right in Lombard, and he he saved me many times. Right before my fights, I'd get injured or I'd dislocate a stupid finger before, yeah, right before competitions, just every single time. It just, but you put in the work. So, um, to dig in, it kind of goes with the PTSD of mentally, I want to compete for me. It gives me that regimented lifestyle. It keeps me from drinking. It keeps me from doing any stupid drugs or anything like that. I mean, mentally, I know I could stop myself anyway, but this is my lifestyle I've chosen, and I'm gonna have to have. I've been doing a good balance. I have great people at my gym. I mean, that help me, and I get messages. I get so much support from them. They love to see me compete. They think it's awesome. That's how I built a lot of my school, and this is how I will continue to build my school. I want to show that, I know my jiu-jitsu and I see what's out there. So there's a few reasons why I compete. I don't do this for any money. I mean, I do it for my business if that's the money, but I don't per se need to make money for doing this. Maybe some super fights next year. But in my opinion, to win like a world championship by far trumps any one match victory in my eyes, just super fight wise. If you have to have 4 matches, and you take gold, or if you even submit 4 guys, I mean, come on, that's amazing. But again, that's the guys on all of these tournaments, the one-on-ones, the one matches, they're truly amazing. They're top 20, 30 grapplers in the world. ADCCC, for God's sakes, they pay. But not everybody is going to be able to do ADCC. Not everybody's going to be able to train 6 hours a day. I'm not. I'm older, too. So that goes into another topic we could always go to, but this is what I've chosen to do, and the competing means a ton to me. Like I said, it's mostly for regimental. In the Marines, that's all we would do. We'd do the same thing every damn day. We had to have everything where it was at every point. We had to know when our meals were. We had to know what time it was at every time. We had to, so that's drilled in my mind. But I absolutely love jiu-jitsu, and I just love that competition when it's one-on-one. You can't beat that. This isn't a team sport other than your training partners and your coach. You got to know to go out there. If you have no coach, you got to compete. You got to believe in yourself. A lot of times you're going to be out there, especially if you have a coach that's coaching like 20 people at once. It sucks. You got to run around, but you know what? You have one person in front of you, and that person is who you need to beat, or you need to fight hard. Don't worry about who's yelling at you or blah blah blah. Do what you do. Believe you know more than what you know. Believe you know what you know. It took me a long